Alright guys, welcome back to another true story animation reaction video. Today we are watching I Have Been in Quarantine for 17 Years by My Story Animated. Now, we've been in quarantine for 3 months and I already feel like I'm going crazy. So imagine 17 years and like not being able to leave your house, because we can still go to the grocery store and stuff like that. So 17 years. I don't know, maybe it's a different type of quarantine we're thinking about, but we're gonna go ahead and watch this animation. Hopefully you guys do enjoy this video. If you guys want to see more true story animation reaction videos in the future, you guys know what to do. Leave a like. But anyways, let's get started. I hope you guys enjoy.
Hi, my name is Mia, and I've had a bit of an unusual life. I live with my dad in the middle of nowhere.
17 years of quarantine?
I love my dad, but he's a bit of a weirdo. Even though we're miles away from civilization, he has cameras surrounding our property. He even has crazy motion sensors and these super high fences. I always assume—
Have you guys ever played Roblox Jailbreak? That's exactly what it looks like, guys. Like, look around.
He's a weirdo.
Like, okay, we get it, you know, a parent loves their daughter a lot.
Even though we're miles away from civilization, he has cameras surrounding our property. He even has crazy motion sensors and these super high fences. I always assumed my dad was paranoid. I figured maybe he watched too many horror movies or something. I wasn't allowed to go to school, so I was homeschooled by him. It was like that for as long as I could remember. I don't know when we moved out into the middle of nowhere, and I had no idea what happened to my mom. My dad was always crazy secretive and strange. I didn't have any friends or family, and my dad was weirdly strict about social media. When I was 14, he caught me with a social media account. He ripped my phone from my hands, took it outside, and smashed it with a hammer.
Okay, this is going a little too far now. Like, we get it.
I stopped trying to get social media
accounts. He just wants to be a good parent, but this is going a little too far.
Luckily for me, I was allowed to have one thing: video games. I started playing this mythical war game. I played online with a bunch of other people. There was a guy who went by Dark Horse and invited me to join. Right away, I was in love with the world.
Oh my gosh, when I was a kid, guys, whenever I played like online games, my parents, my relatives, my uncles, they would be like, no playing online games because it can just lead to like bad things, you know? You're basically talking to a stranger. So let's see what happens, because now she has contact to the outside world, which she's not allowed to have, according to her dad.
I would stay up until the sun rose to talk to Dark Horse,
she's falling in
battling
love.
demons and witches and taking over kingdoms.
Her dad's about to be like, who are you talking to?
I knew I wasn't supposed to talk to strangers, but I felt safe with Dark Horse. I felt like I really, really started to like him. Soon, it reached a point where I wasn't leaving my room for days. I was glued to the screen, afraid to miss a single part of the game and our campaign.
She's not eating?
I'm embarrassed to say this, but it reached a point where I was afraid to even go to the bathroom. I started using a bucket in the corner of my room. I know, it's gross, but my worry about being away for too long was so strong. My dad told me
this
if
is
I
a
didn't
true
start
story.
leaving the room, he was going to take my game away. I brushed him off a billion times. I told Dark Horse what my dad was threatening, and he started joking about getting rid of my dad. I laughed and joked around with him, but something in his voice kind of spooked me. One night, I was up playing at 4 a.m. with Dark Horse. Then my door flew open.
Don't worry,
my dad
I'll get rid
stormed
of your
in
dad
and ripped
for
the
you.
cable to my game out of the outlet, shutting it off. He told me I would get my game back when I earned it. I was so shattered. The next few days were like
Dark
a living
Horse
nightmare.
is about to come
I spent
in there.
every single hour thinking about the game and thinking about Dark Horse. Would he be mad at me for disappearing? A few days passed and my dad finally gave me my game back.
4 days later, guys.
I was only allowed to play 2 hours a day. I tried to fight him on it and he wouldn't budge.
Right?
I was so angry, I slammed the door and stormed into my room. When I got online, Dark Horse called me within minutes. I thought maybe he'd be excited or concerned, but he was sobbing. He was crying, begging me to tell him where I went. He cried that he thought I was never going to come back. Looking back on that now, I shouldn't have been flattered, but I totally was. I told him I would never leave him again, but my 2 hours a day wasn't enough. Dark Horse told me he needed to talk to me more than that. And I told him I couldn't. He asked me why our love wasn't strong enough to go against my dad's wishes. I felt like I was being manipulated, and then he asked me to be his girlfriend. I accepted. Then, Dark Horse started to get less and less nice. He told me it was unfair that we were dating, and I hadn't really told him anything about myself.
His true colors are showing, guys.
My dad told me not to give out my information, so we just went by screen names. When
Listen to your dad now. Listen to your dad.
He got upset with me for not trusting him. He told me if I wasn't comfortable telling him who I was,
I think he's a creep,
guys.
I think he's a creep.
My whole world froze. I couldn't lose video games. If I couldn't play the game anymore with him, what was I going to do for fun?
Sometimes people are like
I'd go back to having no
super
friends
nice
and
until they start showing
all
their
day
true colors.
super lonely. So I caved. I told him my name was Liza, and I told him the city I lived in. On the other end of the line, he was excited. He told me his name was John, and he lived in the exact same city as me. But our joy was short-lived. My dad barged in the room, asking who on earth I was giving my information to. I panicked, not knowing what to say, and my dad ripped the headphones off my ears.
Oh, gosh.
He snapped them in his hands and screamed at me, telling me he had warned me not to give my information out. That's when I lost it. I told him he was terrible for keeping me locked away, and that he was crazy. He slammed the door and told me tomorrow we were taking all my video games, my system, everything, and throwing it away. My heart sank. I couldn't let that happen. I looked back at the screen and John had written me a message. Do you want me to rescue you?
No.
Send me your address. At that moment, I was so alone and afraid of the future.
No, this is a trap.
It was a terrible move.
This is a trap.
I typed my address and sent
Does
it over
she not
to him.
remember
he typed back
what he
to
said?
pack my bags and said he'd pick me up at 3 a.m. That night,
3 a.m.?
I tried
That's the
to
worst
pack
time to pick
as
someone
quietly as
up.
I could. My dad came into the room
That
at
is
around
the
10 and
devil's hour.
asked if we could talk.
Oh,
I was so
no.
angry still that I told him I wasn't ready to
dad
talk
just
to him.
cares
He
about
walked
her,
away
you know?
and looked really upset.
Little
But
does
at
he
the
know
time,
it's gonna be the
I didn't
last
care.
day
I was
with her
getting
daughter.
out of there. At 3 a.m., I tiptoed out of the house. I managed to sneak around the fences and the motion sensors.
How?
I stood at the end of
There's
the
so
road
many
in the dark,
cameras.
shivering. The whole thing was really spooky, and I started
Is he
second-guessing
actually gonna
myself.
pick her up?
As I was about to turn around and go back home, I saw lights driving towards me.
Fast
I
and
realized it was
Furious.
John,
He probably
and
started
my heart
drifting
skipped
in.
a beat. But then, my heart stopped.
Oh.
The car was old and beat up.
Ugh.
Duct tape all
Oh.
over it. It was practically falling apart. When I saw
She was
John,
living
I
in
felt
just-
even worse. He was not the handsome guy I imagined. He looked like a total loser.
Ew.
He wore dirty clothes and he seemed really, really creepy. Immediately, I backed up against the fence, trying to head back to the house. But John walked towards
he's
me.
gonna be a dangerous
He started
guy,
going
isn't he?
on and on about his undying love for me and how we were meant to be together. My stomach started to turn. I couldn't even handle how he smelled. I told him
Oh,
this wasn't a good
no.
idea anymore, and I started running back to the house. I expected him to give up, but he followed me. He was
What?
running after me as I ran down the long dirt driveway. He
Okay,
yelled
her
about how
dad
I
better
didn't have
help
to
her
be
now.
afraid and he would take care of me. The
Why
motion
is he
sensor lights
limping?
turned on, and immediately my dad was at the door. When he saw me
Help.
running, he ran out and got between John and I. John started taunting my dad, saying that if he was out of the way, John and I could be together. Then they started
Whoa,
fighting. I couldn't
whoa,
watch, so I
they're
ran into
fighting?
the house and dialed the police. I could hear them screaming
Yo,
and
this
hurting
is
each
so
other out the window,
intense.
so I ran into the closet and hid. My heart was pounding.
my
The police
gosh,
said they would be
guys.
on their way and would be there soon. But honestly, I didn't think they could be there soon enough. Then I heard heavy footsteps coming
Oh,
into
no.
the house. John started saying we
Wait.
could be together now, that he
What
had
happened to her
taken
dad?
care of my dad. I
What?
was shaking and crying
happened
in the
to her
closet,
dad?
trying to hide behind clothes. What did he mean by take care of him?
Oh,
How badly
God.
did he hurt my dad? I tried to stay quiet, but my crying was too loud.
Dude, he
The
beat
more
up
he
someone's
talked, the louder
father.
I
That
got.
is messed
I gasped
up.
for breath, trying to hold back my
Yikes,
tears.
guys.
And that's when I heard him
This
say,
guy.
"I've got you." I covered my mouth as the door I was behind
See, guys,
creaked
like,
open.
this is
He
why you don't
stared
trust
directly
strangers
at me,
online. Oh my
smiling with
gosh,
a
look how
creepy
creepy he
smile.
looks.
It seemed like it was all over. I tried
Jeff
to
the
push
Killer.
myself back in the
Jeff the
closet,
Killer
but
vibes.
he reached for me,
Oh my
trying to grab
gosh.
me. I screamed for help. And that's when I heard the police
Oh,
barge in.
he made it in
eye
time,
contact with
guys.
me
He
as an
made it in
officer
time.
grabbed him, putting him in handcuffs.
Well, what
I
happened to
watched
her
with
dad?
tears in my eyes as they dragged him away. The police said that my dad needed to go to the hospital because John had hurt him. I rushed out and
How
rode
hard,
in the
though?
ambulance
How
on the way
much
to
did
the
he hurt him?
hospital. My dad was hurt, and I felt horrible. I
Oh.
knew it was all my fault. Absolutely
You know,
all
her
of
dad
it.
just cared
My
about
dad
her.
had
That
to
was
stay
all.
overnight in the hospital. I paced in the waiting room all night, and in the morning, I finally got the news that he was okay. When I went
Oh,
in,
thankfully.
my dad asked me to explain everything that happened.
He said,
I
"Please don't
confessed
ever
from
do that
beginning
again."
to end. That moment, my dad had something to confess as well. He said in a shaking voice, "I think it's time you know what happened to your mom." My heart started
Maybe
racing.
that's why he was so
Your mom had a
overprotective.
pure soul, just like yours. She always saw the best in people, and that was the reason that led to her death.
What?
I couldn't bring myself to tell
she
you because
died.
it was so tragic, but I owe it to you.
How
Your
did
mother
she die?
had passed away in a horrible car accident.
Oh.
She was running away from a dangerous man. That man was not a stranger, it was someone she knew. She had reached out to him through a fundraising ad online that claimed to help sick children. When your mom saw the ad, not only did she decide to donate money, but she also contacted him and promised to help him with his mission. After a while, she found out that he was running a scam.
Was a creep.
And when she decided that she was out, he began stalking and blackmailing her for money.
I swear, some people are just crazy, guys.
She was too scared to even call the police, and she kept it a secret from me. Until one night, she broke down and told me everything as she was driving back home. But then she started screaming when she saw him in the car behind her.
Guys.
And
like,
he started
he's just
chasing her on the road. I told her to drive as fast as she could. But she was panicking and ended up smashing her car into a huge truck on the road.
That's
she
such
didn't
bad
survive,
advice.
And the man disappeared. That day, I failed your mom. I couldn't protect her as I should have, and I promised myself that I would never let this happen to you. You're all I have left. I hugged my dad while we both sobbed. I promised my dad to be more careful, and he apologized for being overprotective and keeping me locked away from everyone. As for John, the police explained to me after that he was mentally ill, and that he had a history of stalking people online. I was horrified to know that.
Can't be trusting random strangers, guys. Can't be trusting random strangers.
No video games for a long, long time. Now, I'm in school, and I have a lot of friends. I still play a ton of video games, but
now
I'm
she
really
has like
careful
a
about
pretty
who I
normal
give my
life
information
now.
out to now.
So for 17 years she was isolated. So for 17 years, her first 17 years of her life, she was just isolated and stuck inside of a home, homeschooled and everything like that. I mean, as long as her dad like took care of her, you know, that's all that matters, right? Like, but then again, she didn't have like friends and stuff like that. So I think it's important for people to like go outside, socialize and stuff like that. So yeah, guys, 3 months into quarantine and I'm starting to go crazy. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed me reacting to these true story animations. If you guys want to see more, leave a like, leave a comment, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.